Hey there, wonderful metrics. Welcome to Educate. In this video, we'll be doing the informal sector questions galore, where we'll be trying out some of the best questions on informal sector from different departments of education. Stay tuned. So here we are going to start here with the Eastern Cape Department of Education. This question is from September 2025, the trial. It says here 2.5, refer to the infographic on the South African informal sector. So here you can see that you are given an image. At the same time, you've got a graph as well as a case study. All of these, you need to look at them carefully and analyze properly so that you can get the full meaning before you get to the questions. Now you can see that from this diagram we're having this granny here, and this granny is a kind of trading with this young man. And guess what? You can see that this young man, they're having this machine in their hands. I'm sure, guys, that this is not your first time seeing this machine. This is the speed point. The speed point is basically the machine where you just tap your card and you can pay, or you just put you just pay electronically. So you can see that there's some trade going on there. Then we have got a graph here whereby they are saying bank card machines percentage in the informal sector. You can see that here 2019 it is the bold one. So in Spaza and kiosks we're having two people in 29. Okay, 2%, they say in percentage, right? So this is a 2% of a Spaza kiosks people in 2019 had bank card machines, but if you look at 2024 they are now 29. Wow. So you can see that the Spaza kiosks, basically there's an increase in the percentage of those that are using bank card machines. Okay, these speed points, right? And then you can see that under the fast food here, in 2019 it was 3. You can see that in 2019 it was 3% that were using bank card machines, and then in 2024 it was 13 fast food owners. And then even the hawkers, the street hawkers are just those people that are selling in the streets, right? So basically in 2019 2% of them were using card machines, but now in 2024 4%. So you can observe that there's a trend that shows an increase in the number of people that are using bank card machines in the informal sector. Now the passage says banking card machines transforming the informal sector. It reads here, informal businesses are increasingly adopting card machines. And this cannot be questioned because you know, guys, that in this modern day, when you want to pay for something, maybe you want to buy a quota or you want to buy some chips, you don't really use cash. In fact, I don't use cash. I don't even have cash in my wallet, but I do have a bank card that is a bit fat. Okay. So basically, we use this card to tap. So the informal sector, it is now adopting more card machines. And then now they say digital payments are now being adopted instead of relying only on cash, exactly as I've said. So now this shift enhances or it improves their safety by reducing the risk and the cost associated with handling cash. You can hear that. Now this shift to using more banking card machines, it is actually reducing or eliminating the risk and the cost that is associated with handling cash. I mean, guys, if you are running a big business such as the one that I'm running, you need to handle a lot of cash. Imagine people paying 200 rands each and every day. I don't really have a wallet that would be able to accommodate that cash. So basically, handling cash comes with a risk, okay, and a certain cost. That is why using digital payments, it is best. Using card machines, just a speed point, you send money to my account, then we are fine. Now the same, such as what? Such as theft and bank deposit fees. You know that a theft basically is, if I've got the cash and people can just come and steal it, and now I run a loss, okay? And then and also the bank deposit fees. When you are going to, if I get the cash, let's just say my informal business is using cash. I use cash. I've got a lot of paper money, and this paper money that I'm having, I go and deposit in the bank. The moment I deposit it, there will be charges. Okay, so to avoid that, let's just use digital banking. So it also allows them to serve more customers and save money and build a record of the sales. Basically, if you're using digital banking, every sale that you have or every transaction that you will do with someone using your bank account, it will be just compiled on the bank statement. You don't really need to write records. This person paid me 200 rand in the morning, then another person came and paid me 400 rands. No, that is so unprofessional. What if you forget to write that I've paid you millions of rands? Okay, now you are going to be kind of unprofessional. So digital banking, it makes it easier because it allows you to serve more customers while saving money and having a proper record of the sales of what did you buy. Because if you are buying using a bank card, then there will be a record of who bought. Automatically the machine does it for you. So overall, going cashless promotes financial inclusion, and it supports the integration of informal traders into the South African economy. So now, as we have heard the good story about employing card machines in the informal sector, now let us answer the question. So now the first question here we are having is 2.5.1. 2.5.1 says, what is the informal sector? The informal sector, basically, try to pause the video and try to answer it yourself before I provide the answer. But basically, the informal sector, it is just that sector whereby we are having unregistered businesses. So people that are doing business activities, people that are trading with other people, whereas they are not registered formally. Because when you are in part of the informal sector, it's just, for example, I just go and sell amagwenya or on the street because I know that kids pass through that street every day. I can get money by selling amagwenya to those kids, right? So basically, I'm part of the informal sector. I don't really need to register my business with the government entities and the authorities and whatnot. So basically, informal sector, it is just unregistered businesses or unregistered business activities. So you can just say these are unregistered business activities. These are the business activities that you do without the need of registering them. You just go and find a place whereby you can put your little shade there. And then when you put your little shade there, you can sell some mangoes, sell some tomatoes, sell some vegetables, or sell some goodies for those kids that are passing by every day, and you make some money. So the informal sector is just a sector that is comprising of what? It's comprising of people that are doing unregistered business activities, the ones that are not formally registered. And then now we go to 2.5.2. 2.5.2 now says, provide evidence from the photograph. So they say, look at the photo or look at the photograph that is provided. They say, provide evidence from the photograph that the informal trader has integrated banking technology into her business. So they want you to go to the photograph. When they say provide evidence, they want what you are able to see, as in like something that you can see from the photograph. You don't just go and say most informal traders are now using banking machines. No, you need to get that from the photograph. So now going to the photograph once again, you can see that in the photograph we are having this lady here, or this granny here, and she is trading. She's like accepting some payment from this. So you can see that she is having this machine here. So this is evidence enough that this informal trader has shifted or has integrated banking technology into her business, because you can see that this is a banking bank card machine, which is known as a what? As a speed point. So the speed point whereby you can just tap, or you can swipe, or you can do whatever that you want. We usually say you swipe. I'm sure Tina will swipe. You guys buy using coins. You buy amagunya using coins. Tina, because we have businesses, we swipe. So basically, here, the evidence that you can say that this lady has definitely integrated banking technology into a business, we can see that there's a speed point machine. So here we can see that there's a what? A speed point machine. So you're going to write it maybe as a statement, but I'll write it for you as speed point machine. There is speed point machine. Or you can say banking card machine or whatever that you say. But basically, there's a speed point machine. So there's some technology that is involved there. In this case, they just want only one. At least I can only see one on my side. But if you see any other one, you can mention them in the comment section. And then now let's go to 2.5.3. So 2.5.3 now says, according to the graph, what type of informal trader? So according to the graph, what type of informal trader has had the most significant increase in access to bank card machines? Remember, the graph was giving us the percentage of the people that are having bank card machines in the informal sector. As it says here, the title of the graph, it had said that here the bank card machines percentage in the informal sector. So basically here, the one that is bold or the one that is painted in black is 2019. The one in gray is 2024. So there's a progression with time there. So now they say now what type of informal trader has had the most significant increase in access to bank card machines? In this case, you can see that the Spaza kiosks, they've increased from 2% in 2019 to 29% in 2024. And then the fast food is from 3% to 18%. And then the hawkers is from 2% to 4%. So basically, you can see that the biggest increase here is the Spaza kiosks. So the people that are having the Spaza kiosks, basically, they are just selling, a Spaza shop, right? Spaza shop, they just selling all of those essentials that you need, those lower order goods that you need. So you can see that here, there's been an increase from 2% to 29%. So you can write that as the Spaza the Spaza kiosks as written here. So here, the Spaza kiosks. Spaza kiosk. So the Spaza kiosk guys are the ones that are just selling those essential goods, such as where you go and buy your bread. When you go to buy isinkwa, my friend Ngalena, you know that you can even use your card to tap there. So in this case, these had the most significant increase according to the graph. And then now here 2.5.4, now they say give a reason for your answer. In this case, the reason is directly from the graph. Okay, the reason is directly from the graph. So it's really, you just need to tell us what makes you say that from the graph. From the graph, you can see that there's been an increase by 27% in the people. Yes, you have to write that, because in this case, you can see it has increased from 2% of people, of informal traders, having what? Having bank card machines or access to bank card machines or banking technology, to 29% in 2024. Okay, so from 2% to 29%, that is the most significant increase of what? Of 27%. So you can just write that increase and say, you write it as a sentence, but I will shorten things out here. So Mina, I'm just going to write that there's been a 27% increase of the people that had access to bank card machines. According to the graph, you say according to the graph, there is a 27% increase. If you do 29 minus 2, guys, it's obviously 27%. There's not a math lesson. So obviously 29 minus 2 is 27%. So there's a 27, there's an increase from 2% to 29%. So that's a 27% increase. Yes, it shows a great significant increase in the people that are having access to banking technology. And then let's go to these hash conceptual questions that you need to look at carefully. We are going to start here with 2.5.5, which is 4 marks. What are the social benefits? What are the social benefits for the consumers or the customers who make use of banking card facilities used by informal traders? Answer to question 2.5.3. With 2.5.3, remember we said that according to the graph, the Spaza kiosks are the ones that have had a greater increase in having access to bank card machines. Now 2.5.5 now further asked, what are the social benefits for those consumers? The consumers are the customers, the people that are buying the products or the goods, or that are purchasing whatever that's being provided. It's a service or it's a good, any economic activity. So here, what are the social benefits? How do they benefit as the customers? How do they benefit if they are making use of these banking card facilities that are used by informal traders? You can pause and try and attempt it. But basically, you've already been told, guys, in the paragraph, what is the whole advantage of using these bank card machines and whatnot, rather than using a raw cash or paper money. Okay, you know that we say that paper money can be stolen, right? So if customers are going to use their banks, there's a lesser risk for people stealing from them. So there's a lesser risk of theft. So we can say that here there is a less risk of theft. So now the people, the customers, remember this must be the social benefits, the benefits to the people, right? Social simply means the people. So here, what are the customers benefiting from using these bank card facilities? There is a less risk of theft or the loss of cash. You can say that the loss of cash, all of those. So it's convenient, it's fast, there's a less risk. And what else here? Remember that remember here from the case study that says it allows them to serve more customers, save money, and build a record of or a record of sales. So it's more neater, or it's more conventional in my own sense. You can just say it's more conventional, or it's a more convenient thing. Using bank card machines is more convenient, it's straightforward, it's easier than using hard cash. Because if you are using hard cash, you know that if you're using hard cash, maybe you might lose the money, or maybe the change. You know that sometimes the change problems. Just say I come with 100 rand and I want to buy something for 20 rands. Some people, I don't know the nerve of bringing a 200 rands, a 200 rands orange note when they just want to buy something for 20 rands. No, that's like we are and no, it's not really ethical for my for my own opinion. Just jokes, but basically, it's more convenient because you just paying directly, so there is no change, no change drama there. Yeah, there's no change drama because you don't really have hard cash, right? So there's more convenience, so it is more convenient. And then you explain, remember this is 2 marks, you kind of need to explain here. So it is more convenient. I don't know if the spelling is correct, but it's more convenient. Avoiding conflicts with change. Okay, in case if I want my change and maybe you don't have change, now I have to change my money first and get a smaller note so that I can buy your products. You see, so basically it is more convenient. There are many things, there are many other things that you can say here. Uh, quite a lot. But basically, you have been told here from this case study. Some of it they say going cashless here, it promotes financial inclusion. So you can even extract this, promotes financial inclusion. So anything, Jay, these are not like fixated as the only answers that are available. You can just tell us anything that benefits people because they are using bank cards instead of cash, instead of raw cash. So here it promotes what? It promotes financial inclusion. Promotes financial inclusion. It's more like it includes all people, right? So that's how you can go and attempt to answer that. Then now 2.5.6, explain how access to card machines assists informal businesses to become more economically secure. Guys, this has been given in the case study exactly because they say here in the case study you have already heard why this is why using bank card machines is better for informal businesses, because basically in the case study they says here the shift enhances or it improves their safety by reducing the risk and the cost associated with handling cash, such as theft and bank deposit fees. So having card machines, it will help informal businesses avoid such things, avoid those bank deposit fees, because you are just using your card to just tap and transfer the money or do whatever that you want. So basically, I think you can just improvise on many things. So you can even take this one of theft as well, because this one of theft, it helps both the consumers as well as the informal traders. I mean, like if I'm selling something, and I'm using cash like raw cash, I need to be able to manage that cash. But if I'm using a bank card machine, I don't really need to have a stress of people coming and barging in and stealing my money. Same thing for the customers. So it's also a benefit. So you can talk about the one-off theft here. You can talk about what? Even the convenience. Yeah, each and everything that you've applied here in 2.5.5, it can still benefit the informal traders as well, so that they become more economically secure. There are many things that you can say. You know that the card machines, they are more quicker and more convenient. You can talk about the speeds. You can say that the informal traders or informal businesses, if they are using these bank card machines, it's a quicker process. Okay, so if it's a quicker process, it simply means that it will save time. It will save time, and it will allow people to trade quicker. And when it's quicker and you can handle more customers at once, you know that, right? Because if we are just using our bank card machines, you take the product, you tap, I get the money, you go. Another person comes, the cycle continues very quick. But if you are still going to pull out a bunch of coins, I have to count if the coins are pelele in. That is kind of messed up. It delays me, so it saves time. It's a quicker process. You can save more people. Okay, so you can save more people there. So there are more people that can be saved. You can save more people in shorter time. So you can save more people in shorter time. You can actually be able to sell many things in shorter time, and that can actually help you. So you can mention any three that you want, anything that you want, but anything that has to do with benefiting the informal businesses. So this one was from Eastern Cape, September 2025. Now we go to Free State. Yes, yeah. Now we are going to Free State, still September 2025 as well. So now here they say define the concept informal sector. I won't define it anymore because we're just repeating it. Remember that we have defined the informal sector as that sector consisting of unregistered business activities, people who are doing unregistered business activities that are not formally registered by the authorities and all the structures above them. Then now 2.5.2 and 2.5.2 they say give an example. So here you're supposed to refer to this diagram. I didn't read the statement, but basically you're supposed to refer to this diagram showing a photo of the informal sector. Now they say give an example of an informal activity in the photograph. Now I will zoom in these photographs so that you can see properly there. So here you can see that this is our photograph here, and in our photograph we're having a taxi rank. So we're having a what? We're having a taxi rank, and having this taxi rank, basically you can see that these ladies here, they are selling oranges, they are selling bananas, they are selling fruits and vegetables. So you guys should never underestimate the informal sector, because you see these ladies, most of the times these are our mothers, and these mothers of ours, they are doing this so that they can get money for school fees. Most of the people, most of the children's school fees is actually paid by informal traders. In fact, I am coming from an informal trader, so never underestimate the power of informal trading. Because as long as you're able to get money, you can be able to get your kids to go to school, get your kids to go to varsity, and become better people in life. So please, always, before you even think of disrespecting people in the street, please respect these people. These are our parents. That's just a short lesson for you guys to always know the value of these people in the economy. So now give an example of an informal activity in the photograph. You can see that these ladies are kind of vendors. These are street vendors. So you can see that they are selling. Yeah, they are vendors. Just to summarize everything that has to do with selling. If you guys forget some words and you are writing an exam, write the meaning. Okay, you can say there are people that are selling tomatoes, people that are selling oranges. Yes, that's an informal activity there. Okay, these are street vendors. In one word, Noma, yeah, in two words. So these are street vendors, but in actual fact, they are selling a fruits and vegetables there. And then oh, this was 2.5.2. So 2.5.3, 2.5.3 gave two reasons why the informal sector is so important for the informal trade. It's just something that I've just explained to you guys. Why is it important for the informal trade? In this case, the reason why the informal sector is more like this whole thing of selling without registering your business, like just finding a place and putting your tent there, or put whatever your shade that you put, and then you start selling, or you start doing some business activities without registering. So now, why is this whole thing, this whole informal sector, so important for the informal trader? It benefits them quite a lot. It's just something that I've explained, Jamanje guys, and said, these people are able to send their kids to school using the money that they get here. So this is actually a source of kind of financial freedom. If you don't have a job, and you start selling in the streets, akusile ihlazo, that's a job itself. So basically, you are creating employment yourself. Because basically, when you're going to put your tent there and you start selling your goods and services or whatever that you are selling, you need other people to assist you. You end up employing other people to even do the work for you while you do something else. So it's providing employment, it's creating job opportunities, although it's not registered. Okay, so you can start by, it creates employment opportunities. So this creates employment opportunities because people are going to get employed by you. It creates employment opportunities. And above that, guys, the simplest of all reasons is that the informal trader is benefiting because it's more like a primary source of income for them. Okay, so if they're having this employment opportunity, then this becomes a primary source of income for them. They can get money to be able to do their activities, send their kids to school, all of those things that you can do with the money. Okay, so basically, being a breadwinner, or being able to provide for your family, it's a benefit to the informal trader, because they want the reasons why this is benefiting, why this is important for the informal trader. Okay, so the informal trader can support their family, or they can send money to their family, whatever way you say it, but please make sure you say it. Yeah. Okay, so informal trader, the informal trader, you write it as full sentences. In this case, I'm just giving you hints, guys. You guys are old. You need to now know how to formulate things on your own. Okay, so informal trader can support their family using this money that they are earning from this informal trading. So can support their family. And if you can support your family, poverty is reduced. A greater standard of living is attained there, because you're able to support your family, you're able to send money home. If you are away from home, you're able to get your kids to school, you're able to do quite a lot of activities. Okay, so basically, this is alleviating poverty, or this is reducing poverty. Okay, but when you write it, guys, you write as full sentences. Here, I'm just giving you hints as just an older brother, so that you guys don't sweat in the exam. Okay, so basically, it reduces poverty. It reduces poverty, increases that standard of living. So that's why I say, guys, the people that are in the informal sector, they're actually contributing the most to the economy of South Africa, more than the registered businesses. Okay, let's go to 2.5.4. Okay, 2.5.4. Now, explain the choice of the taxi rank as an ideal location for the informal traders. The word ideal simply means best. So I will just use the word best for simple English purposes. So now, explain the choice of the taxi rank as the best location for the informal traders. Why would informal traders not just go and trade somewhere else? Why did they choose to be closer to a taxi rank? So you need to know, guys, a taxi rank, there are many people In a taxi rank, where is it ideally located? Most of the times, the taxi rank, it is found near a mall. The taxi rank itself is located near a mall so that when people are done buying from the mall and they need to go back to their house, they can just get a taxi nearby. So basically, if you are closer to a taxi rank, you've got access to a lot of people, the people that are commuting there. So basically, here, a 2.5.4, you can start telling us that since this informal trader is located closer to the taxi rank, basically, this is the best choice or this is the best location because there are many people, okay? There are many people, or you can call them commuters that are using taxis, okay? The commuters are the people that are using taxis, right? So let's just say there are many people really that pass here. Let's just say I'm just passing here, going to take a taxi, and when I go to take a taxi, I see an orange and I'm kind of thirsty or I'm hungry. I just go to an informal trader, I go and buy an orange, and then I'll be fine. Okay, so it's a benefit to them as well. So there are many commuters that are passing by or that are grabbing the taxi, whatever way that you say it, but you need to complete the statement on your own. I'm making you guys more accountable. I'm not feeding you answers. You complete the statement, but I'm giving an idea that here, the choice of taking a taxi rank is always the best location for these informal traders because there are many people or commuters that are moving around the place. So as they are moving around the place, they can be able to support the business. So these are more like potential customers that can help to support the businesses. And also, you know that, as I've already said, that the taxi ranks, most of the times, they're located closer to the malls and the shopping centers. So if they are located closer to the malls and the shopping centers, then there are also many people as well. Can also saying that. So if there are many people that will support the business, so there are always higher chances of getting more income, more profits, all of those things. Okay. So there are many people, commuters, that are supporting, and then you now just improvise from these high chances of getting income, high chances of getting a profit or getting some income. Because these people are located closer to the shopping malls. You know, like at these professional shops, sometimes I won't lie, guys. I'm someone who buys groceries, so I know that at these shops there are things that are costly, right? And I see with outside there's an informal trader that is having some onions for 10 rand. I go and buy the onions for 10 rand rather than going and buying into the store. But now the thing is, sometimes it becomes a problem because the people that are selling outside, most of the times people will say that they are actually finishing business. No matter, they're actually stopping the potential of the people inside the malls. I wonder what you think about that. Please comment below as well. So they say, yeah, there are high chances of getting income there because there are many people that are around, and also there are many shopping facilities around. Yes, there are many shopping facilities around because the taxi rank is always located closer to a busy area, in a busy area most of the times, so that they can just take the people when they're coming from the shopping center and Babatati, they go to their locations and whatever, wherever places. So you can talk about the shopping facilities. So there's an access to a shopping facility, access to shopping facilities. Even if I want to go and stock, let's just say maybe I'm selling some chips, or like the like those chips and chips and sweets and whatnot, and I want to stock, I can just stock near those shopping facilities. Okay, so if I'm selling some sweets and those chips and whatnot, I can just go and stock them, and then when I stock them, I sell them to the what? I sell them to the people. So there's access to shopping centers. There's a better access. You can say that there's a better here. There's a better access to shopping centers. And you can now tell us why is that a more convenient for the informal trader. So there are many more other things that you can say here, but make sure that you say something that has got sense and you back it up using using this qualitative reasoning. Yes. So now suggest sustainable strategies that the government and the formal businesses could implement to strengthen the informal sector. Guys, the informal sector is at many risks if you didn't know. In case they ask you this in the exam, I don't know they will or they won't, but basically, the informal sector, they suffer from harsh weather conditions. They suffer from ill treatment from basic people. People are just doing whatever that they are doing. That's why I need to don't disrespect these people because they are going through a lot to feed their families. You hear me, grade 12, be a responsible citizen. Okay. So these people, they suffer through a lot of things. Even their goods can be confiscated. Sometimes you can just find some people come and just take away their thing. They're exposed to theft and all of that, risking for their families. So what can the government? We are looking for the strategies that can be done by who here. The question says the strategies that can be done by the government. So everything must be directed to the government and the formal businesses. What can the government do to help those people? This is the picture. I think this will definitely evoke some of your emotions. What can we do to strengthen them? Because njengamanje they are facing quite a lot of challenges. People can be, they're exposed to the sun. It's not safe. You can see this. They're exposed to the sun the whole day, and it's very hot. It's very hot, but they risk that. So the government, what can it do to lessen the harshness of these conditions that these informal traders are facing? We can talk about what the government can say, can do. The government, if I were the government, what would I do? I would build proper structures, proper infrastructures for informal, because I'm trying to strengthen the informal sector. I'm trying to make their conditions better so that they can trade and help their kids and feed their families better. What would I do? I would build infrastructure. You need to put yourself in the perspective of the government so that you kind of have a sense of personalizing this. I would build infrastructure because I can see that these people are being exposed to what to harsh weather conditions. So here I could build infrastructure or some tents or anything that can help them. But basically, I want something sustainable, something that will take long, something that won't damage the environment. Okay, so I would build infrastructures to make the informal traders, normal to kind of protect them from this harsh weather and whatnot, all those vectors. So we can build infrastructure there. So build infrastructure. So here you don't just say build infrastructure, you must write it in full. The government can build. There's a say must here. Okay, could, right? The government could build infrastructure. Infrastructure for the informal traders, okay? The government could build infrastructure for the informal traders. So the informal traders may be protected if they've got better infrastructure. They will be protected from harsh weather conditions. They will be safer. They'll be able to trade better and feed their families without a lot of hassle. Okay. So what else can the government do? One of the problems that the informal sector faces, I'm sure this is the problem that is currently happening in the country. Basically, informal people that are trading informally sometimes basically these government things, I don't want to interfere, but I'll just tell you a bit of or a glimpse of what's happening. Authorities can actually chase them away from where they are njengamanje and just say that this place is not allocated for people to do informal trading. Yes, for people to be selling. So there are places, if the government can designate certain places for informal traders, it would help them because these people are at a risk of being of their goods being confiscated. And an authority can just come here. I don't want to say which authority, but an authority can come here and say, Mama, you are selling at the wrong place. You shouldn't be here. Out. Or maybe they can just thrash away your goods. Okay, that maybe those are the mobs and whatnot. But basically, these people face this each and every time. This is the type of disrespect that they are facing while they're feeding their families. So the government should designate. They should designate certain areas within the city that they will say that this is the area for these people to be able to do their informal trading. After building them infrastructure and building them safer areas, they should designate a place that we know that this is for informal traders, so that they don't get to be in a risk of being kicked out, being harshly treated and whatnot, whereas they are feeding their families at home. Sensitive. So basically here, the government could designate. You're going to write in full, you're going to say the government could designate. Designate what? It can designate areas or spaces, can designate areas or spaces specifically for these informal traders only. The government could designate, the government could designate areas for informal traders. Okay, yes. What is one of the challenges that these informal traders face? I'm giving you a challenge and I'm giving you a solution. Okay, so now, thing is, if everyone was just to be an informal trader, nje, all will be like filling the entire streets, all the streets having a lot of people, and there will be kind of a mess, right? Honestly, there will be a mess. So to reduce that mess, the government implements policies such as licenses. You must have a license basically to be able to do this. Although your business is not registered, okay, having a license doesn't mean your business is registered per se, at least in my own opinion. So basically, one of the risks here, if you're an informal trader and you don't have a trading license, you don't have a right to trade in the streets. Okay, you don't have a right to trade in the streets. So basically, the government should be able to supply those licenses or give permits. We say they are known as permits, the licenses that allow you or that give you permission to be able to trade in a certain place, to be able to occupy a certain place and trade in it and do whatever that you want, and do some business activities. Okay, so that permit or that license, the government should provide, or the government should make it easier for them to be able to get that. Okay, so basically, the government should provide cold. This is a cold kind of case because the question says cold. So here, the government could. So the government here could provide what? Provide or assist in formally registering these. Okay, provide licenses, trading licenses, or you can say trading permits. Yes, trading licenses or trading permits. Okay, trading licenses or trading permits, so that these people can be allowed to be able to trade without facing a risk of being told, you don't have a right to trade here. You see, so basically, the government should be able to do that, so that it can help these breadwinners that are helping each and every kid to live their dream out there. There are many things that you can say, guys. There are many things that the government and the formal businesses can do. I don't know what formal businesses can do per se, but basically, the government, I think it can do quite a lot to strengthen the informal sector. It can do quite a lot. It can even incentivize them. It can give them some funding, some money to help them grow. You know, when there's money, kind of like everything goes well. So basically, if the government gives some access to funding for them, then they will have money to be able to expand and grow the informal sector. And as the informal sector is growing, we are creating more jobs, then unemployment rate will be able to decrease in that way. So all of this can be done as a sustainable strategy to be able to strengthen the informal sector. Don't get tired, because this is the last paper that we'll be doing on informal sector questions galore. The photograph below shows an informal business located closer to a shopping center. So this is from KZN September 2025. Amageba. How? All right. So here, this is KZN, or not that this is KZN, but basically this photo from the KZN paper, you can see that we are having these traders. Although this is drawn by hand, but it's simulating the ideas. We're having informal traders here. Okay, so we're having informal traders. This one is having a baby, all of that, all of that, all of that. Okay, so you can see that there's informal trade happening. So always know how to define the concept of informal sector. Guys, I've already told you that the informal sector is just consisting of unregistered business activities. Now mention one evidence from the photograph above indicating that this is an informal sector. What can tell you that this is an informal sector? You can see that here, informal sector, basically we're gonna see it by people selling within the street. That's the first thing. Street vendors, always, just like the question paper from STMK, from Free State, I mean. Okay, so you can mention, you need to only mention one, but I will give you at least the ones that I can see here. Oh yeah, I can see that here. I can see. It might be something that you see from the photograph. They say mention one evidence from the photograph. So from the photograph, I see that. We are having street vendors, or we are having people that are selling in the street. So that's street vendors. And I can also see that they're selling in the street and their infrastructure is poor, or they are using tents. You can see that here, this is it, and here I think this tent is just trying to close. We'll see ilanga lingashisi kakhulu. Guys, we'll see the sun sometimes hits so hot, but you still need to provide for your family, and you're still here, you're making those sacrifices as a parent. Only us, we can understand what parenting means, but you guys probably won't know. But basically here you can see that there is no shelter. That is there is no there is no shelter. There is no shelter in this case. There is no shelter that is kind of protecting them. So here there is no shelter, or there are tents, you can say that. So there is no shelter to protect the traders, these informal traders. So the fact that there's no shelter, it means this is informal. When you're doing formal trading, you need a well-built area, all of those formalities. Okay. So the fact that there's no infrastructure here, these people are exposed to all of those weather elements and whatnot, the sun and everything, shows that this is part of the informal sector. Now, 2.5.3, explain two reasons for high informal sector economy in South Africa. Why do we have so many people that are found in the informal sector? In fact, if we can look at the people that are selling the streets, there are more than the businesses that are registered. Why? Explain two reasons why we are having quite a lot of people. Why would you even resort to informal sector? Guys, not that people go to the informal sector because they want to, right? People have dreams, okay? People have dreams, just like you. Maybe you dream to be a pilot and whatnot, but life situations never tend to always go the way that you want. So you need survival. So the thing with survival says there's a high unemployment rate in South Africa. You know that there's a high unemployment rate. There are very high poverty levels. All of those are reasons that would make you to go into the informal sector so that you can survive. You need money to do things. You cannot live without money. You cannot live without something to survive. You need to buy something. So basically here, the two reasons for this high informal sector is the high unemployment rate in South Africa. So the fact that South Africa has got a high unemployment rate. So the fact that South Africa has a high unemployment rate, it makes more people resort to this informal sector. It makes more people to go into the informal sector so that they can survive. Even the high poverty levels, people are poor economically, in a sense. No, not anything offensive. People are poor, right? So because of these high poverty levels in the country, for you to be able to alleviate poverty, go do something, go get some money, at least be able to get some money to be able to buy impopo, buy ishebo, so that you can get by the other day while you're trying to achieve your dream. I'm preparing you for life here, grade 12s. Make sure that you get this into your brain straight so that you know how to humble yourself when such situations come. Okay? So here, there's a high informal sector because there is a high poverty levels. There are high poverty levels. There are many things that that cause many people to go to the informal sector. There's a lot of things that you can talk about. There's a lower standard of living, warawara, all of those things that will make more people to resort to go to the informal sector. And when more people are resorting to go to the informal sector, then there'll be a high influx. So no matter, there will be a high number of people selling the streets, high number of people doing informal business activities. So you can just improvise there and think of other things that can cause more people to go to the informal sector. Now, 2.5.4 conceptually now says discuss at least two. Okay, so it says discuss at least two negative impacts of high informal sector economy in South Africa. Ish. This one is a painful thing because we are trying to survive as a people by going and selling in the streets and doing all of those unregistered business activities, which are just the definition of the informal sector itself. But it can have a negative impact. It can have a negative impact on the economy. It can have a negative impact on the economy. All right. So basically, as I've already told you this problem before, that when we're having street vendors selling tomatoes and they are sitting outside a store which is a formally registered business. I won't mention any names like I usually do, but basically a store which is a formally registered business, a supermarket. Outside, there are people selling tomatoes, onions, and whatnot. But inside the store, the same product is being sold. So do you see that these people, maybe they're having cheaper prices, so they'll kind of be stealing the customers. But they're trying to survive, guys. That's why I say comment on what you honestly think should be done to accommodate both sides, because the formal businesses will suffer. So the first thing we're going to say, formal businesses will suffer from lack of customers. Formal businesses, the formal businesses suffer from lack of customers. Yes, because the informal sector is already providing almost everything that we need. When we need bread, we go to a spaza shop. When we need something, okay, when we need tomatoes, we just look for a street vendor, we buy there. Is there really a need to go to a supermarket now? No, 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 you don't. Like if you're thinking pocket-wise, for those people who are having a tight budget for a month, I know how the tight budget means, so I'm telling you from experience, if you are having a tight budget, you cannot be going into those supermarkets that are selling tomatoes for 20 rands. You rather go and buy them outside because it's the same tomatoes, just that it's a different place where you are finding them. So the formal businesses will suffer from the lack of customers. It's unfortunate, but it's something. It's the something that that will be done. And now, if there's a high informal sector economy in South Africa, if there are too many people in the informal sector or so many people that are selling in the street, it's hard to maintain order. Honestly, it's hard to maintain order because basically the essential services that are being provided by the government, such as municipal services, to be able to clean up the streets, they will be very hard. Because basically, if there are so many people in the informal sector, it will happen that they will kind of lift their waist. Angifuni ukuyisho ngendlela embi. Okay, they will lift their waist. When there are made too many people or so many people in a certain place, it's less likely to be clean. So basically, there will be a high demand for the municipal workers to be able to clean after those people. Honestly, as people, I don't think we clean up after ourselves most of the times. In most cases, no offense on this one. I repeat again, souls. Most of the times, people don't clean up. Okay, so there will be a higher demand or there will be a strain on those public services such as cleaning the streets and whatnot. So there will be a strain, so you can think of that as strain on public services, a strain on public services. There are many other services, guys. There are many. You can just give example here. Just say such as, and then you will give your examples on your own time. There are many other services that if there are so many people in the informal sector, they will just be putting strain on them, on whatnot. But still, I still say keep it in your heart, ladies and gentlemen, that these people are supporting our families. Okay. If you are a child of a trader, you will know what I'm talking about. They're supporting the families. So as much as you think of all these formalities that I'm going to write here for the sake of your exam, think about them supporting the family. There are other more negative impacts. If they are even the hygiene of the place, you can mention that as well. Less hygiene in the streets as well. If there are more people that are selling in the streets, that are resorting to the informal sector, there will be less hygiene. Okay, it's a negative thing for the economy. When there's less hygiene, even the foreign investors won't be interested in investing in the country. So you can mention that and say there will be less foreign investment in the country. You keep on answering, you keep on going, yeah, you keep on answering and improvising on these points. But basically, I'm giving you an idea here that there is less hygiene in the streets because of a high influx of people. And then when something like that is happening, obviously, if there is less hygiene, foreign companies won't be able to invest in the country. So it's a sad thing. As I'm saying, I'm actually almost tearing as I'm doing this video. So let's do 2.5.5. 2.5.5 is the last question that we'll be doing for this short questions galore. Okay, for this informal sector questions galore. It says suggest measures that the local authorities could implement to improve the working conditions of informal traders. This one we've already done it when we did the previous paper. I think it's a Free State or something. So basically, the local authorities, we're talking about the local municipality, what can it do to strengthen or improve the working conditions of informal traders? You can talk about them building infrastructure, them giving them permits so that they can trade without getting harassed, them giving them certain areas for them to trade on, them giving them some money, funding to be able to carry out their businesses. So as long as it is strengthened. So I'm so happy, guys, that you guys reached the end of this video. If you have reached the end of this video, thank you so much, Wonderful Matrix, for being with us for this year. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Tell friends to also stay tuned.